Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It is really great that we can come together across our different locations and time zones. So a few things before we start. Please mute all your mics. And if you, let's say you have a questions, you can put your questions in the Zoom chat box and also YouTube chat, and we can answer accordingly when the time comes. My name is Kalai. I'm a program officer for Global Shepherds in Malaysia. Global Shepherds' focus is women and children, those who are trafficked, forced into migration, refugees, asylum seekers who have experienced gender-based violence. We have shelters and outreach programs that include case management, counseling, awareness raising, and other forms of interventions. And that's enough about us. Let's get straight into our topic of session today, which is online sexual exploitation of children, or OSEC. What is it? In short, it means children are being sexually abused online for profit. It is a new form of child trafficking. OSEC most commonly includes sexual abuse and sexual grooming of children, forcing children into performing sexual acts, consuming child sexual abuse material, and live streaming, an internet connection, and a child. Children are used by the traffickers to create sexual exploitation material to meet the online demand of child sex offenders, whether on live video, social media, or messaging platforms. And as technology advances, internet connectivity is enhanced, new forms of this crime emerge where online tools and services are used. So in this forum today, we will see from the perspective of three countries: the Philippines, Nepal, and Malaysia. As we look at the realities of OSEC, the perceptions, and the chef can come to the end and fill up a very short questionnaire because your voice matters to us. And I think this is the perfect platform for us to exchange ideas and information. So without further delay, we shall cross over to the Philippines. The Philippine Internet Crimes Against Children Center, as well as other anti-human trafficking agencies, have reported more than 50% increase in suspicious transaction reports relating to OSEC in 2020 compared to year 2019. Social services organization St. Mary Euphrasia Integrated Development Foundation Inc. are actively trying to combat OSEC in Philippines, initiating rescue and intervention efforts as well as raising awareness. So we hand you over now to team in Philippines to tell us more. Over to you, Ciara.
Good day to everyone. We will be presenting about the Philippine realities and context of OSEC in the Philippines and the Good Shepherd response. So we will be presenting videos to show to illustrate what is happening in the Philippines.
또 나는 어디 들어갔어 수녀에? 수녀에 들어와서 어디로?
Pagbati mula sa Pilipinas. Thank you for visiting our virtual booth. Our mission partners are on standby to answer any questions that you may have regarding the videos and information we are presenting today. However, if you are unable to stay, you may send in your questions by scanning this QR code. Muli, maraming salamat po. Pagbati
Jesus said in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 19, verse 14, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them from coming to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them." It broke my heart as I heard the cry of the little child, "Mama, Mama, Mama," upon realizing that he is no longer within the comfort of his own home. He was in a new place, hearing unfamiliar voices and seeing unknown people in a strange big building. I wonder what happened inside the mind of this child, what emotions were evoked in him, especially when the days and months passed when his mama or papa did not come to visit him in this strange place. When the children are new in our shelter, it is very challenging to put them to sleep because they cry in bed while looking for their mothers. And so again I would hear, "Mama, Mama, Mama," in between the sobbing. Once a child made his longing more revealing when he said in his childish diction, "Sister, I cannot sleep alone." With tears also in my eyes, hugging the child and being by his side until he fell asleep was the only response I could spontaneously give. How can I ever tell him that his mama was in jail because of the crime she committed, and that this was the reason why he has to be in this situation now? Can a child of 2 or 3 years comprehend this kind of situation? What I only know is that children this young age need the tender loving care of their own mothers. Our foundress Saint Mary of Gracia said, "The Good Shepherd does not want even one of God's children to be lost in the chaos of the times." The discovery and the experience of being with these children brought us to situations we ourselves were not prepared to face. Online sexual exploitation of children, or OSEC, is very new to us. At first, we really felt that we were not trained enough, that we lacked skills, professional experience, and of course, we were afraid that we would not be able to provide the necessary interventions. But the news about this issue was escalating, so we remembered again the words of Mother Foundress, "I have no great talents, I only loved, and I love with all the strength of my heart." Despite the uncertainties, we decided to embrace this new demand in mission. It is love and loving from the heart that we can surpass all the limitations and fears that we had at the beginning of this new mission. And so when the child cries, "Mama, Mama, Mama," all we have to do is to give that authentic love. Love which is flowing from the compassion which Jesus, the Good Shepherd himself alone, can give.
Online sexual exploitation of children, or OSEC, involves the production of sexually explicit material such as chatting and visual depictions, including photos, videos, or live streaming of the sexual abuse of a minor for a perpetrator overseas in exchange for payment. The sexual exploitation of children is a global issue with an ever-increasing scope due to the rise in technology and internet connectivity around the world. Under Philippine law, OSEC falls within the broad category of human trafficking crimes. In the Philippines, OSEC appears to be a family-based crime. Facilitators are usually family members such as parents, uncles, and aunts, or from close circles such as godparents and neighbors. The crime is usually done in their homes, which is considered as a safe place. Furthermore, many children experience OSEC victimization alongside other family members. Victims comprise mostly of siblings or other familiar relationships, such as cousins. Over the years, women have been on the receiving end of various forms of abuse. However, because of OSEC, a new dynamic of abuse is emerging. Based on some reported cases, women are alleged or have been convicted perpetrators of this crime. Rescued children usually ask why they need to be separated from their mothers and siblings, not knowing that their mother is in jail on charges for the abuse or exploitation she did to them. Poverty is the enduring reason why some people engage in OSEC-related activities, mainly to sustain their family's needs. Other reasons include financing vices such as drugs, alcohol, or gambling. Some victims have been reported to have experienced maltreatment, neglect, sexual abuse, or exploitation prior to engaging in OSEC. Other factors that may contribute to the spread of OSEC are incomplete families and broken family values. On a wider scale, the lack of awareness among families and communities that OSEC is a crime may also be attributed why perpetrators and facilitators go into OSEC. The Religious of the Good Shepherd, or RGS, strives to support women and girls who have survived all forms of gender-based violence, including trafficking in persons. Recently, it has embarked on a new journey, this time with children who have been rescued from OSEC. In 2018, RGS opened its assessment center for OSEC survivors in partnership with various non-government and faith-based organizations. RGS Philippines follows the 4Ps framework: protection, prevention, prosecution, and partnership. RGS employs the caring, healing, teaching, intervention model. This is a holistic approach in providing services to the children, especially keeping their best interest in heart. RGS responds to the children's immediate needs, such as their biopsychosocial, spiritual needs. The assessment center serves as a safe space where they feel protected, understood, and loved. In the long term, program participants receive psychosocial interventions as well as awareness-raising sessions on their rights to lessen the risk of re-victimization, which falls under prevention. To combat OSEC, partnership with various government units, non-government, and faith-based organizations and professionals is essential, especially in raising awareness among various sectors, as well as prosecuting the perpetrators. As an assessment center, the best options for reintegration of the program participants are evaluated. Reintegration with non-offending family members is considered as the best option for the children. As the Philippine Family Code states, the family is the foundation of the nation. It is considered as the primary system where the child is rooted and is significant to their growth. This is supported by the move of the Philippines Department of Social Welfare and Development to the institutionalized vulnerable children. Other options which replicate a family setup are kinship care, where they are reintegrated into the families of non-offending relatives, and licensed foster families, which can provide a family environment for the child. Referral to a long-term care facility is considered as the last option. In 1989, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted. It recognizes that all children have unique rights and needs and ensures that they grow in the spirit of peace, dignity, tolerance, freedom, equality, and solidarity. Article 34 states that children must be protected from all forms of exploitation. Following this was the adoption of the Palermo Protocol in the UN General Assembly in year 2000. This protocol is for the prevention and suppression of trafficking in persons, especially women and children. Reflecting these international conventions, the Philippines has 3 existing laws that serve as major legal anchors for cases concerning OSEC. Republic Act 7610, or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act, Republic Act 9208, or the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, and Republic Act 9775, the Anti-Child Pornography Act. OSEC is an emerging concern for all families and communities because of the many misconceptions surrounding it, as well as the hidden nature of this crime.
Thank you, Sierra. Thank you for showing us the realities of OSEC situation in
This will
Philippines.
be showing one more video.
Oh.
We would before we share this video, we would like to say that this video is fictional. This is to protect our program participants. We did any specific program participant story.
Dear Mama, kumusta po kayo? I hope you're okay. Do you remember the time when our family went to the park? There were so many trees and flowers. We stayed there and played on the grass. We didn't have much baon, but we had so much fun that day. Do you remember when we would play and sing and dance at home? I remember my sister and I played with the new toys you gave us. There was also this one time when we went to the market and went to the remittance center to get the money that you said was from our hard work. Then we ate at our favorite fast food chain. I miss you, Mama. I miss all the fun we had. But Mama, there were times when it wasn't fun. Sometimes it was hard, even painful. But I couldn't say no, even if I wanted to. I remember today when we were separated. You were taken away. My sister and I were taken away. There were so many people. It was so noisy. I just wanted to run to you, but they said, we're now at the center, and I know you're in jail, Mama. But I'm worried about you. Have you eaten? We eat well here at the center. Do you sleep well, Mama? I miss your hugs when we sleep. I go to school here. They teach us to read and talk about our rights as children. We have a very nice teacher. I promise to become a teacher, like I have always dreamed of. There are other children here. They're my new classmates and playmates. We plant vegetables and we eat them for lunch and dinner. We're happy. But I would be happier with you and Papa and my sister. We would be complete. I miss you, Mama. I love you. And I forgive you.
Hello.
Thank you, Sierra. Thank you for showing us the realities of our sex situation in Philippines. It was truly an eye-opening. So before we continue, I invite all of you to write your questions in YouTube comments for us to answer later. And now we can spend some time for question and answer based on the videos that you just watched earlier.
While everyone is sending in or typing in their questions, because YouTube has a bit of a delay, we would like to share our experience in creating these videos. It was a very personal experience for us, especially for Jem and I, because we were the ones who really reflected on our journey with the children here at our assessment center. And it's been 2 years since the assessment center has opened, and it has seen a number of children, and the number of children rescued during the pandemic rose because a lot of the children were trapped inside their homes. So that is what happened during the pandemic, and it is very heartbreaking for us because it is we all know that children just want to be children, and yet they are exposed to these kinds of abuse.
Any
Can
questions? Yeah.
I pose a question to the team from Philippines?
Yes. Sure.
I just like to ask, how is your organization in the Philippines also working with other organizations to address this issue?
Okay. Come on. Okay. So partnerships, as we mentioned in the video, partnerships with various stakeholders is really crucial in combating OSEC. As we all know, OSEC seems to be the perpetrators of OSEC seem to be very organized in their operations. So it is very important for us, faith-based organizations, to partner with each other and other stakeholders such as the government, law enforcement, and other non-government organizations, since we have to organize ourselves as well. We have to have unified action in order to combat such a big crime, and it is a hidden crime. So we have to invest a lot of our time as partners in this quest to eradicate OSEC, to really know what is happening, how it is spreading, how more and more people are getting into it. So we should not focus on accepting and accepting the rescued children. Yes, it is important. Rehabilitation and recovery and healing of these children is very important. But preventing the crime is more important. That is why advocacy, awareness raising, and networking is crucial in just spreading the word to more and more people why OSEC is bad and what OSEC is doing to our children and what will happen to them when they grow up. So it's a cycle of abuse. So we have to stop it before it even starts.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Another thing is that with proper communication and coordination with different organizations, we will combat this crime. And with cooperation with non-government organization and government organization, it is very important in helping the children because we have limited resources, of course. So yeah, we
So
have to coordinate and cooperate
with each other.
This,
So for example, our assessment center does not have any rescue capability. So we do not conduct the rescues. Other non-government and faith-based organizations, and of course the government stakeholders conduct the rescue operations. As an assessment center, it is our job to see what is the best next step for the children. So that's the whole point of view of how organizations and government units work hand in hand with each other.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's another question from Villa. How do you network with other CSOs and agencies?
So, like we said earlier, through communication and coordination, that's how we work as a team, especially in the case management in handling these cases.
One of the things that I would like to share is we have created a small referral network among faith-based organizations. And we try to collaborate with these faith-based organizations in order to address the 4 P's that we mentioned in the video, which is prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnerships. So, of course, the Good Shepherd has friends in other faith-based organizations, and that's how we get to know more people. We use these connections to ask each other, how can we help you? Or is there anyone else who can help us with this concern? So it really is a relationship between the organizations. And by communicating constantly with each other, OSEC is ever changing. The trends are ever changing. So it is important to be updated, to constantly talk to each other, especially when there is an active case. It's always active communication, weekly exchanges between the multidisciplinary team handling the cases. So that's how we get to know more organizations through each other.
Yeah.
So when someone knows someone, we try to refer it to each other, and that's how the community grows.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, I think we move on first, but keep the questions coming in the YouTube comments so that we can answer later. Okay. So we now move on to Good Shepherd International Foundation in Nepal, who will share with us the findings of their research report on online sexual exploitation of children in Nepal. As part of their anti-human trafficking work, GSIF Nepal strive to protect the children and young women through education for life and personal development. So over to you, Govinda.
Hello, namaste everyone. Namaste from Nepal, and thank you so much for this platform. Today, as the team from Philippines presented on how online sexual exploitation has been hampering children. In the same line, in context to Nepal, Good Shepherd International Foundation partnered with one of the organizations working in the sector of child rights to generate the evidences on what has been the extent of impact upon children while they are using internet. So we'll be presenting a report on the research on the study of online sexual exploitation of children in Nepal that was done by our partner organization named CSW65. And for this Good Shepherd International Foundation supported this research to happen. So we'll begin with the presentation. So in the beginning of the presentation, Sister Taskila will give a glimpse on how the study conducted, and the later part I will be joining the presentation.
We, the Good Shepherd Sisters, are working in Nepal from 98, and we started working with children, and later we started working focusing on human trafficking, that is internal human trafficking, that is what is happening in the entertainment sectors or in the dance bar, the hotel industry, and plus also cross-border human trafficking. And at now this is one of the emerging issues that we face in Nepal, because many young children and youth are into online. For after the pandemic, it has become in increase to use online internet for their education and other purposes. So we, in collaboration with Sivin is a child working in Nepal. It is a nodal agency also for child helpline. So with them we did this research, and I would like to the purpose of this research was to study on the risks and identifying sexual abuse taking place online and impact on the mental health of the online child sexual exploitation of survivors. So this was the main purpose, to find what is the impact of the mental health of the survivors of sexual exploitation. The objective of the study is to know the internet behavior of the children between 9 to 19 years, to identify the possible risk related to online sexual exploitation, to know the psychological impact on children due to online sexual exploitation, to recommend relevant stakeholders on the role and responsibility to protect children from online harm. The study approach and methodology were desk review, sample design, pre-testing, quantitative data collection, orientation to the enumerators, focus group discussion, key informant interviews, data management and analysis, scope and coverage. The total respondents were 1,714. 7 provinces of Nepal was covered in this research. Children from government and private schools from grade 8 to 12, children at care home and adolescent groups. The age group of the respondents were 9 to 19 years.
Continuing with what Sister explained, so the research had the coverage of all of the provinces of Nepal. After the recent governance structure, there are 7 provinces in the country. So the research focused in different provinces, and so both the students from government as well as private schools were incorporated in the study. So they were given the opportunity to take part in the study. So I'll be focusing on what were the findings of the study on the very aspect of online sexual exploitation of children. So the research tried to identify the online activity the children are engaged in while they are using internet. So during the study, out of 1,714 children were involved in the research, 30.69% involved them. They use social networking, like especially Facebook. It is very common in Nepal, and I believe it is very common in South Asian countries, especially. So most of the children, almost 31%, they mentioned that they use internet to use social networking sites, especially Facebook. And 22.4% did not prefer to answer on this very question, and 18.26% mentioned that they are involved in gaming purposes. So they play online games. They use internet, especially while playing games. And it was also identified by the research that during the weekend time, they spend more time than the usual time when they go to schools or when they are engaged in doing homeworks and attending classes, especially during Saturdays. In Nepal, Saturday is a holiday. And weekend time, they spend more time in the internet. And 70.74% of the children specified that they look for entertainment videos in YouTube, Netflix, and Vimeo, and similar other sites. Similarly, 4.5% also specified that they depend on internet to find any information they wish to get, for if they have any curiosity or if they have any assignment that they need support for, or they want something. If they need to do research on something, then they take help of the internet. So 44.26% children said that they go for they go to the internet to know about the news, to know about what is happening in the country and all over the world. So to know about the news, they rely on the internet. A very small percentage of 1.28%, and they explore different mobile applications while using the internet. 0.47% use internet for email purposes and other for various different purposes. 0.35% of children mentioned that they use internet for other various purposes. So from this finding, we can clearly have a glimpse on what are the major activities where children can involved in while using internet. So majority of the children, they are engaged in Facebook and social networking sites. So it is really necessity that we need to make sure that these sites are really safe for them, and they get proper and adequate information in these sites. And further to it, the research tried to explore on the knowledge on internet safety. How much level of knowledge does the children have while using internet? So under this section, out of 1,714 respondents, 224 did not prefer to answer regarding the knowledge on internet safety, whereas 1,488 mentioned that they know something about internet safety, they are aware of it, and 2 mentioned that they are not aware of it. And out of 1,488 children who mentioned that they are aware of internet safety, the research tried to explore their level of knowledge, during which it was found that only 345 children were fully aware of internet safety. They know that what are the potential risk or possible risk that they might get into, or they might face while using the internet. 703 children were found to be partially aware of the internet safety, whereas 440 children who mentioned that they are aware of the internet safety were found to be actually not aware of it. So from this finding also we can conclude that only 345 children out of 1714 children were found to be aware of the internet safety. So it gives a picture that we really need to work on raising awareness level among children, so that they are aware of the possible risks they might get into while using internet. And more than that, it is also equally important that the children are aware of the primary service providers or the reporting mechanisms if they happen to get into the problem or any kind of risks while making the use of internet. Actually, at this very stage of time, it is not possible to separate the children from the internet. We cannot ask them not to use the internet, but we really need to focus on the safety or precaution measures to the children while using the internet, so that there is not any kind of risk happening to them. Similarly, the research also explored on the knowledge of cyberbullying, how familiar are the children on cyberbullying, and together with it, the research also explored if they have faced cyberbullying. So 97 of the children did not prefer to answer, and while exploring, it was found that 97 of the children who did not prefer to answer about their knowledge on cyberbullying, actually three of them had faced cyberbullying incidences which they were not aware of. Similarly, 162 children mentioned that they are not sure about what cyberbullying is actually all about, but 18 of them were found to have been facing cyberbullying while using the internet. Similarly, 469 children mentioned that they don't know about cyberbullying, but 45 of them had been the victim of cyberbullying when further exploration was done by the research. 986 children mentioned that they know about cyberbullying, but when it was explored further, it was found that 187 were actually the victims of cyberbullying. So this is the scenario, this is the context that the children of Nepal are in context to online safety. So even if they said they are aware, a significant percentage of them were actually the victims of cyberbullying. They were in cyberbullying, but then they did not realize that they are in cyberbullying. The research also tried to explore the possible risks on online child sexual exploitation, the possible risk the children might face while using internet, and the perception of the children in relation to the most possible risk while using internet have been as this. Like 266 children mentioned that hacking of one's own personal account is likely to happen while using the internet. So 264 mentioned that there might be the possibilities of fake love relationship resulting in sexual abuse. They perceive this as a possible risk while using internet. 242 of 174 respondents mentioned that there might be the possibilities of unwanted contacts with strangers. So this much of children consider unwanted contacts with strangers as a possible risk that is likely to happen while being online or while making use of the internet for various purposes, which we have already discussed in the very first slide of the measure findings. And 260 mentioned that there is high possibility of online bullying, and 209 of them mentioned that there is a possibility of emotional or mental pressure and stress. 201 mentioned that one might get addicted to gaming while continuously using the internet. So there is a possibility of exposure to pornography, which was identified as the possible risk by 139 children. 117 mentioned that sexting is the possible risk they foresee while using the internet. 105 found that blackmailing or sextortion online for sexual benefit is the possible risk. Online grooming for sexual abuse was mentioned as a possible risk by 95 children. Convincing children to have unwanted sexual relationship was identified as a risk by 81 children. And this is like convincing children to share the nude images was mentioned by 69 children. It has not been shown in the slide, but it was the possible risk is like forcing children to share their nude images. And forcing children to view sexual images and watch sexual videos was identified as a possible risk by 55 children. So these are the different possible risks that are foreseen by the children. So we really need to work, civil society organizations together with the government and law enforcement agencies. We really need to work on these possible risk sectors so that our children are safe while making use of the internet. So the another aspect that research focused on is the contact with strangers online. Out of 1,714 respondents, 457 mentioned that they met strangers online. They had a conversation with the strangers. And out of 457, 294 mentioned that they were not forced by the strangers to meet. However, 163 mentioned that they were forced to meet physically with the strangers. They talked over the Facebook, especially social networking sites. And out of 163 strangers, nine children did not go to meet the strangers, even if they were forced to meet. However, 154 respondents went to meet the strangers and experienced, and some of them were found to have experienced sexual abuse. And some of the children were asked to meet again. They actually planned to meet again even after the first meeting. So this also depicts a situation how much risk our children are in while making use of internet, especially while they are using internet and while they are getting connected with the strangers they don't know through social networking sites. Further to it, some of the children have the study also tried to explore whom do they report to when they get sexual exploitation or when they have some issues in the internet. And 56 children mentioned that they reported to their family, whereas 16 mentioned that they reported to their teachers. 18 of the children mentioned that they reported the incidents happening to them to the child helpline 1098. His sister also earlier mentioned that CV Nepal is running child helpline, a toll-free number 1098, to hear the grievances, to hear the problem and protection concerns of the children. So only 18 of the children mentioned that they rely on child helpline to share their bad experiences, to share their exploitation happening to them while making use of the internet. And similarly, 56 children mentioned that they share such incidences to their friends, and 8 of them shared their grievances or their bad experiences while making use of internet with their relatives. 6 of them informed to the neighbors, and 30 of them informed to the police. So from these findings, we also can have a glimpse on how important are the family and friends so far as the hearing, so far as the children rely on when they get into troubles or difficult situations, or when they are exploited sexually while making use of the internet. And further to it, 30.98% of the respondents have watched sexual contents in the internet, on which 61.77% 61.77% belong to 16 to 18 years category. They have mentioned addiction accidentally while using the internet. So they happen to watch the sexual contents in the internet accidentally, whereas some of them mentioned that they were insisted by the strangers. So in the previous slides, we came to know that they come in connection with the strangers while making use of the internet. So they were insisted to watch sexual contents. They were forced to watch such contents by the strangers, and some of them were mentioned that they watch such contents through peer pressure, and some of them they had the interest on that, whereas some mentioned that it was the curiosity that led them to watch such sexual contents while making use of the internet, while using internet. So the research came up with the findings that it is the 16 to 18 years of the children are the most who happen to watch such sexual contents while making use of the internet. And we also discussed in the previous slides that how cyberbullying has happened, how the children are not aware of the cyberbullying happening to them. And during the research also explored that cyberbullying has happened in various forms, by using bad sign, by using abusive language, spreading rumors, blackmailing or threatening, pressure to send indecent image, sending inappropriate images, video name calling, and body shaming. So these are the different ways how cyberbullying has happened to the children who were involved in the research. Similarly, 106 respondents mentioned that they were pressurized to develop and forward sexual audio, video materials. More boys were pressurized. So the research team shared with us that they had a hypothesis that it is actually more girls are the one who are victimized in online sexual exploitation, but contrary to what the team had presumed. So it is the boys who were more pressurized to develop and forward sexual audio and video material. So and they were pressurized by strangers, peers, relatives, caretaker, and even coach, boyfriend, girlfriend, foreigners, and best friend, who forced them to make such sexual video, audio materials, and ask them to forward to them. Amongst the different categories of people who force the children to make sexual audio and video materials, boyfriend or girlfriend, peers and strangers were in the top list. So this category of people are the one who pressurized them the most. Further to it, 340 out of 1,714 respondents reported that they faced online sexual exploitation. The feelings that they come across were described as sad, angry, guilty, embarrassed, nervous, frightened, shameful, and depressed because of the exploitation. Further to it, 48 out of 340 skip school as a consequence of exploitation. So this is really a worrisome situation that we really need to analyze this further and develop programs according to it. So after being exploited sexually in online, many of the children, 340 out of 1,714, develop different kinds of feelings. Actually, they had sad feelings, they get angry, they had anger, and they felt guilt of themselves, they felt embarrassed, they felt nervous, and some of them, 48, they skipped school in between as a consequences of exploitation. So we really need to focus on the psychosocial aspect as well. So this is the research has generated the evidence that we really need to work on the psychosocial aspect of it also. As a consequence of online sexual exploitation, the children are really in need of psychosocial support as well as counseling from the primary service providers as well as civil society organizations like us who are working in online safety. So this is the research has generated evidence that we really need to work on the psychosocial aspect of it also. As a consequence of online sexual exploitation, children. So we will go into key recommendations of the research. So the research we have shared a few of the major findings that the research come up with, and now we'll go into the key recommendations that research has come up with. So the research has focused on better coordination among networking communities and telecommunication for increased safety of children in online. So yes, the team from Philippines also gave emphasis on it is not one organization effort or one government authorities effort that that can ensure online safety of children, but collective effort is what we really need. Collective effort is what we really need, and we need to work together to make sure that our children are safe while they are using internet. So there is a necessity of better coordination. For example, in context to Nepal, there is a Nepal Telecommunication Authority, which is a government owned body who supervise different internet service providers. So they work together to make sure that malicious contents are not available to the public and children by the internet service provider. So they need to really work hard, and there is a need of regular consultation on how internet can be made safe and user friendly or child friendly. Child-friendly prosecution process has to be ensured by law enforcing agencies. So the research has come up with the finding that in context to Nepal, there is a Children Act 2075 that criminalizes the act that are related with cyberbullying and online sexual exploitation. But whenever the prosecution process is in action and it is really not going well and it is not child friendly, the incidences of online sexual exploitation are dealt at the central level from the Kathmandu itself, whereas there are 77 districts in Nepal, and even if a child got sexually exploited in online, then he or she has to come to Kathmandu for the prosecution process. So the prosecution process is not so much child friendly, so it has to be made child friendly. They need to the child really needs to feel safe if he or she wish to go for the prosecution process. Include issues of online child sexual exploitation and cyber law in the curriculum by the government. So this should be a course of a study, so that the children are aware from the very appropriate time that what are the possible risks they might get into, and what are the possible stakeholders they can count upon when they are at difficult situations while making the use of the internet. Online materials and sites containing sexually pervert and explicit content should be restricted from the reach of the children, which I explained a bit earlier while describing how National Telecommunication Authority and internet service providers can work together on this very aspect. So it is the responsibility of Nepal Telecommunication Authority and internet service providers that there are not malicious contents as such that pose risk to the children when they are using the internet. And together with this, the parents as well as the teachers are equally accountable and responsible to make sure that the children do not end to such contents when they are using the internet. Increased collaboration of government with civil society organizations. So the government really need to work with civil society organizations on raising awareness on the prevention part, as well as the response mechanism, as well as to make sure that referral mechanism is in place if any child gets into sexual exploitation while making use of the internet. Issue of minors exploiting the minors should be thoroughly discussed and properly addressed. So during the consultation with the stakeholders, the research team has also explored that it is the minors who are exploiting the minors. So this issue has also this issue is also need to be thoroughly discussed and properly addressed by the government as well as the civil society organization. It is not only the adults who are exploiting the children in online. in the previous findings, in the previous slides, we come across a finding that the boyfriend or girlfriend asking to develop sexual contents or sexual videos and pressurizing children to share such contents back to them. So the children are also involved, the minors are also involved in the exploitation of children online. So this issue has to be thoroughly discussed, and appropriate ways have to be identified so that the children do not exploit children online. So orientation on this should be mandatory at every school. So every school should make sure that their students, their children are aware about online sexual exploitation. As we already mentioned, that we cannot separate children from the internet at this very technological age. So it is, we really need to focus on the preventive aspects, and we really need to focus on the possible risk that the children might get into while they make use of the internet. And we need to pre-inform them. So what are the possible risks they might face while using the internet? So, and school play a very crucial role on this very aspect. So this was the one of the key recommendations that the study come up with. Parents should be sensitized on the issue with the specification on the roles in preventing the children from being exploited. As mentioned earlier, as live schools, the parents should also be responsible. For example, the very simple act, very simple effort like making the using the internet in child safe mode can prevent a lot of can prevent the children from different kinds of risk while using the internet. So the parents should also be aware that their children might be at risk while using the internet, and they should come up with the ways to prevent risk happening to them. And civil society organizations need to focus on exploring the wider areas through the research, conduct awareness to children, parents, as well as primary duty bearers. So this is the issue. This is the burning issue of this time. Before 10 years, it was not there, but it has grown, and only very few studies have been done in this aspect. So civil society organizations like GSIF, CB, we need to explore the wider areas through research, and we need to conduct awareness to the children, parents, as well as primary duty bearers in the country, so as to make sure the children are not at risk. Better response mechanisms, prompt prosecution process, and child-friendly reporting mechanism are to be in place to address cases of exploitation. Yes, apart from preventing, even if we tried our best to make sure that children are not harmed online, obviously there will be cases of online sexual exploitation. So in order to decrease the severity the exploited cases might get into, we need to have early and better response mechanisms in place, and there should be a prompt prosecution process so that the children feel like going and complaining about the exploitation they suffered while making use of the internet, and there should be child-friendly reporting mechanisms as well. So these are the overall major recommendation that the study has suggested, so as to make sure that our children are safe while making use of the internet. And we would also like to share on how Good Shepherd International Foundation Nepal is responding to this situation in collaboration with partner organizations in context to Nepal. So we are organizing policy level meeting with concerned ministries and stakeholders, and the focus is in context to Nepal. There is an electronic act which was prepared almost a decade ago, and it is not sufficient enough to address the rising situation of this time. So the act really need to be updated, and some amendments have to be made so that the incidences of online sexual exploitation of children are addressed properly. So the representatives from the ministerial level, especially Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizens, as well as the Information Ministry, they were requested, apart from other stakeholders, concerned stakeholders, and there was a discussion on what are the areas that needs to be addressed upon in the upcoming act and policies. So the findings and the evidences that were generated by the research were also presented to them, so that they have a glimpse on the current situation of the country and the ways that are required to address such situations of online sexual exploitation. So there has been a research for evidence-based advocacy, the findings of which we shared today with you all. And we have been focusing on awareness through media, and we have been developing posters and stickers to inform children, parents, and the community people regarding what online sexual exploitation is all about and what needs to be done in case if there is incidences of online child sexual exploitation. Media advocacy and sensitization to media house is also another aspect that we have been working upon. So media plays a very important role to have a wider outreach and to have wider sensitization. So we discussed time and again with the media houses to widespread the message on online sexual exploitation and the precaution measures that need to be followed by children, parents, and other concerned stakeholders. Direct support to the children affected by online sexual exploitation. So our partner organization is running Child Helpline, where they have been running emergency shelters as well. So we apart from psychosocial counseling services, direct support, legal support, education support are also provided to the children who are victimized by online sexual exploitation. And the other part is a social mobilization of child clubs. So we are mobilizing children on generating awareness and raising awareness in their groups about this very issue. And coordination and networking. And this is really important that we coordinate and network with like-minded organizations as well as the primary duty bearers to make sure that the children online, to make sure that children while making use of the internet are protected. So it is also one of the part of the response to the situation. So this is a sample of the poster that we have developed and disseminating to the stakeholders and the children on how they can stay safe online and how they can be cyber smart and secure. So, and this is another poster that we have developed where the information on the Nepal police, or the toll-free number of Nepal police, as well as the toll-free number of Child Helpline has been mentioned about, and Child Helpline mobile app is mentioned about, so that the children can contact to these service providers when they are at a difficult situation or when they are exploited while making use of the internet. So with this, we come to the end of our presentation, and we'll be happy to hear about your concerns, suggestions, and questions for further clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taskila and Govinda, for the informative summary of your research findings. We now get a clearer picture of the realities of OSEC in Nepal. So now we will spend some time for questions and answers. I invite you to please put your questions in the comment section in the Zoom chat and also YouTube comment section.
In the meantime, when there will be some questions coming in, we'd like to inform that the policy level meeting that happened with the in the presence of Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizens, as well as the Ministry of Information and Communication. It was really fruitful in sharing the evidence, in sharing the findings of the research. The research has really been the evidence for the policymakers, so that they are aware of the areas that the government, the country should really focus upon, or the areas that the state should address, so as to make sure the children are secure while they are making use of the internet.
Can I raise a question?
Yeah.
I'm Shamindani. While you were doing this the research, what were the challenges that you faced? So either kind of experience how the children were whether they were able to freely answer these questions, or whether they little reluctant in giving kind of these answers. I would like to just ask, what was that experience? The considering the respondents.
Yes, actually, what I would like to share is the research team that which did the research shared to us that most of the students were open to the research, but there were some respondents who hesitate to respond to the questions of the research in the slides that was shared. As a major finding, you also noticed that some respondents did not prefer to answer in some of the questions that were asked as a part of the research. But then majority of the respondents were open. Prior to the research, there were the research team facilitate on the objective of the study and what it is for. So that really helped to make the children open to the questions they were asked for. And there is a question, how effective has the app been? So this is a newly launched app. We are not sure of the number of cases, how much cases have been registered through this app, but then 1098 has been really effective in receiving cases of online sexual exploitation. So they have reported us almost 12 cases of online related with online sexual exploitation were dealt by the helpline alone in Kathmandu. So they have other branch offices, they have other child helplines in other districts also. They have 5 different child helplines. The Kathmandu helpline only dealt with around 12 cases of online sexual exploitation in 1 year, which is a big number actually, because not all the cases of online child sexual exploitation come to helpline. Thank you, Jenny and Paula, for the question.
Thanks, Kavita.
If there is no question, I also would like to add something. Is when the discussions were happening and the research when they were doing, the thing came up is lot of grooming is happening before they get into sexual exploitation. Yeah, the children, can be strangers or even relatives. Lot of grooming, a process of grooming happens and take the children into confident, so that they are feeling free to means without even realizing they are getting into exploitation. It is sometimes some cases we found is that not only the children are groomed, even their family is groomed, like with some incentives, like I will educate your child, I will take care of your child, I'll give a job and education, things like that. So there are different ways. Even those who have money, even those from well-to-do families also are children from the well-to-do families also being groomed, because maybe they are not having enough a good family atmosphere or a good relationship with the family, so they are tend to move into such groomings. Thank you.
We have a question from Maria Deepal. She asked, can you share more on the social mobilization of child clubs?
Yes, actually in Nepal, what we have is like in every school there is a child club. In most of the schools they have child clubs, and in the district level also they have in ward level, in local level, in district level also they have child clubs. So we cannot reach to every children. So what the project did is they gathered the representatives from child clubs and give orientation on online sexual exploitation. And these child clubs have regular meetings, especially on monthly basis, and they were asked to share the same information about online sexual exploitation to the other members, to the other children. So this is how the project has been working on mobilizing the children to raise awareness on this very particular issue.
Christina has raised her hand. So would you like to ask a question?
Yes, hi, hello. Congratulations for this really nice piece of research. I wanted to ask if you can give us a little bit of an idea how you're going to integrate in your programming the results, the important data that you have presented today. If you see areas where you can provide specific contribution in partnership or with, our traditional partners.
Yes, thank you so much, Christina, for the question. And as I said earlier, that the research is this is an evidence to the stakeholders that there are problems in using internet by children. The children are at risk while making use of the internet. And as I shared earlier, that we already have started having meeting with policy makers. So we are making use of this research for better policy formulations when there are amendments in the policy level in the laws. So we have been lobbying on that. These aspects need to be addressed by the upcoming policy. So this is how we have been going on. But then if there are any other dimensions that we really need to focus on, we're very much grateful to hear about those from your sides as well.
Also, to add to what Govinda said is like we also want to emphasize and lobby to bring into the curriculum of the schools somewhere they could pitch in this kind of information to the children as a curriculum, which been done in other Western countries or European countries. Some of the countries has it, so can be included. That's the another way of thinking into lobbying, and also getting into internet service providers across the country, along with the Nepal Telecom Nepal Telecom authorities can be connect with AP-NIC, Asia Pacific networks of internet providers, so that because what happens is in Nepal, the service providers have a limitation to block the malice content, which is coming from across the countries. So if we really need to work in the future, we also need to connect with Nepal Telecom authorities, which can connect with the Asia Pacific or European countries where these malice contents come from. Big service providers like YouTube and Facebook and things like that, so that IGF, a different network organization, also is another issue. And another follow-up is at the local level, all those network service providers, we have also given a kind of a request if they can splash some informations on safeguarding children is our responsibility, or the parents' responsibility to protect children from. So if we come up with some content, they are ready to splash these information in their websites or whatever they provide service to.
Yeah.
Also, in future, maybe in their MOUs when they provide service, make it a mandatory to keep one line saying that if there are children, you should use the children safe mode in your internet services. So things are coming up.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about the schools, it's very interesting. And I wonder if you might think of maybe looking at partnership with sample a few schools to develop a curriculum for the teachers that could then be enabled and educated to provide this kind of support to the children and the families.
Yes, surely at the grassroots level, that is what we can do at the moment. And in the high level policy meeting that that our partners did together with us in the last project is like only the Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizen and Ministry of Information and Communication was invited for the meeting. And there has been a suggestion that Ministry of Education should also be included in the upcoming meeting so that we can lobby for including the online safety component as a curriculum. So it comes as a part of study in the school itself. So in the days to come, we will be focusing on that aspect as well. Apart from the grassroots level interventions on educating teachers, educating children on online safety.
Rajai from Thailand, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. It's really interesting. I think many countries share the same problem, online sexual exploitation. I would like to share the intervention and response from Thailand that I know of. There are a network of NGO working on this. They set up a network to do the the investigation online, so they can intercept children who are in the process of, like our friend said, grooming. No? So when they saw that those girls are groomed by someone that maybe they are at least, so they try to support them. They have a network with the Thai police, the DSI Division of Special Investigation is one of their network. And when they they rescue them, they also have the rehabilitation and reintegration process. When the victim are already recover from the trauma, etc., they train them as a volunteer. So they are victims who become a volunteer and train other children in the normal school. So they work with many schools in the project area, and they use this child volunteer who used to be a victim to talk with friends. So they become peer-to-peer support. It's working very well. And this network even do the investigation and rescue online cross-border. For example, this organization can help children or girls from Myanmar or Laos who are to become a victim online, and they are forced to get married in China. So there is a whole process of rescue with all the network cross-border, and they could rescue them and send them back home in Laos, in Chan State, for example. So this is a very good experience. That's what I would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you all for all the questions. We will move on to the next segment now. Okay, so now we would like to hear from you. What does OSEC mean to you? What is the level of awareness in your country? How do you think the community and policymakers can make an impact? So to answer all of this, I will post the link in the chat box below. We will spend about 20 minutes for people to complete the survey. And after submitting your survey, please do not forget to check the accuracy of your answers by clicking on the View Accuracy button. So we will put the link now. Everyone see the link? Mm-mm. Is anyone having problems with the link? Please let us know if you have any issues with the link. Mm, We have about 9 responses so far. Please keep the responses coming. We have about 5 minutes more. Those who are watching us from YouTube, please participate in the online survey. We have just posted the link in the comment section. So please participate in the online survey. We have 14 responses so far, so please keep it coming. 2 more minutes to complete your survey. We hope you find the feedback for the meets useful. And let's look at some of the responses of the survey now. I will share screen. Okay, if you can see here, there are 20 responses. The age groups are 6 above 50, 6 from 18 to 28 years old, 3 from 29 to 39 years old, and 5, 40 to 50 years. Gender, there only one male and majority female, 90 female. Country, there are quite a few. From Korea, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so let's look at the myths here. So the first one is, it is not abuse if a child performing a sexual act online is not physically touched. So for this, everybody answered correctly. Very good, congratulations. And number 2, it does not harm a child if she or he is only seen but not participating in an online sexual scene. So same, all answered correctly. Number 3, OSEC only impacts the victim. So correct, everybody answered this, which is very good. Number 4, OSEC is a private matter between the viewer and the child. Okay, so sorry, I missed. Okay, so for question number 3, there were 3 who said agree. OSEC only impacts the victim, and few answered disagree. So the correct answer is disagree. It impacts not only the victims but the surrounding. And for number 4, OSEC is a private matter between the viewer and the child. One person answered agree, and the correct answer is disagree. It is never a private matter. And number 5, OSEC only happens in my neighboring country. It does not happen in my country. Okay, so everybody answered correctly for this. The correct answer is disagree, because as long as there's internet in your country and your child has access to the internet, any children has access to the internet, then they are vulnerable to online sexual exploitation of children. Okay, so let's look at this. If you could make one change to prevent it, what would you do? So I'll be reading it out. Educate children through school curriculum, early education on the issue, awareness, educate everyone on OSEC, create awareness for children, facts, and avoiding them from becoming a victim. So a lot of awareness here. Be more transparent with child and not keep him or her in the dark about what really happens in the world. The main reason why this happens is because talking and teaching kids about sex from a young age is made taboo and frowned down upon. Strengthen safeguarding in communities to protect children online. Do awareness for OSEC in schools, raise awareness in community, educate children on OSEC, and organize peer-to-peer support. Yes, educate the children regarding on this matter. It is quite difficult to make change by oneself. It needs to be collective, and people need to understand the depth and the weight of sexual abuse. There needs to be law to punish the predators. If not, we will never be able to get out of this. Give them awareness program, education, make children become aware, monitor children activities, take part in awareness program, change policies, compulsory syllabus on online sexual exploitation of children, education. Thank you. So a lot of awareness and education. So focusing on prevention. Okay, next question is, in what way do you see your community taking a stand to prevent and respond to OSEC? So create ongoing awareness program, advocating for online safety, ignorant. Okay, very minimal in school. OSEC is not mentioned publicly. Awareness program, safeguarding ministry practices. Enable sharing of good practices and awareness raising in social media. Awareness for adult and children on OSEC by giving training to parents. Okay, someone shared, in my community, people don't pay attention much on prevention on OSEC. They use the conservative way of working with children. Need more awareness raising and capacity building. Make them aware of the danger on this. Sad truth is that the victim is always blamed for the abuse that she have faced or he have faced. The predator always gets away. There's no true law to serve injustice for the voiceless, and it's quite frustrating. So legal system, giving awareness sessions, networking, education, no initiatives, awareness program and campaign, awareness session in school community and through various programs. Thank you. Next, the last one is, if you could change one policy in your country to protect children from OSEC, what would it be? Tighter control on internet access, OSEC specific law on OSEC. Even if someone is found to be grooming a child, it should be punishable offense. Make it mandatory that all schools include in curriculum safety guidelines on social networking. Need to find out what are the policies we have and study them right first. Education system to make kids aware on the topic of sex from an early age so they are not kept in the dark and decide to venture out and seek answers for themselves, by themselves. Better monitoring online by National Ministry of Communication, compulsory session on OSEC at schools, law enforcement, child protection policy, advocate for more punishment for the online abuses. There are still gaps in child protection law. Be voice for the authority. If I could change a policy to protect children from OSEC, would be to punish the predator with no mercy. If not, this world will never be a better place for anyone to live. At least put in jail for 5 years. Very good. Network laws regarding to online usage. Send awareness through mass media. Allow the mass media to produce movie drama that bring awareness to the public. Tighten the age of internet access. Stopping sexual websites. Stop porno online through advocacy programs. Okay. Thank you all for completing the survey. This will help us to see the level of awareness on online sexual exploitation of children and recommendations on how the community and policymakers can make an impact. We are collecting all the responses, and it will be used for our advocacy work, and we will also be collating the report. The report will be sent out. So now we can spend some time for question and answers. Those who are watching in YouTube, through YouTube, please put your questions in comment section.
Hello, Kalai.
Yes.
I just want to congratulate everyone who has presented today. I think the session was very rich and very informative, and it surely has opened the door for more discussion on online sexual exploitation of children, something that we do not hear out in the public space, but is surely happening in many of our countries. So I just want to thank the presenters for presenting this topic today.
Govindan, Taskila, exactly what made you to do kind of such research? Is there any particular reason, or is that the general awareness that you face, or what? Is a small explanation maybe?
Yeah, because now all children going to school use the mobile, and also in Nepal, mostly children are into Facebook, and there have been cases where they got married and things like that, even when they are minor. So this was occurring in our mind, and at the same time, the NGO that working with children was ready to partner with us and do this online sexual exploitation research. So we said it is a relevant issue at present. So we took up, even though it was started before the pandemic, but also 500 participants were there who responded during the pandemic when they were using online or internet for their education and other purposes. I suppose I answered your question.
Yes, yes. And it's really nice, we hardly think of this area, to do a research. It's something very nice, and you have done it very well, I feel. The findings are very proper, very nice. And I think even if we think of doing such a thing, we can share our knowledge. Thank you so much.
Hello, this is Marie-Jane. This is not a question, this is kind of insight and impression of this forum. When you gave us the survey, I noticed that I have a lack of knowledge, accurate knowledge of this OSEC information and knowledge. I think this forum aroused the new insight for me to concern and to to work and to network with other NGOs in order to effective work to prevent the child abuse. So I think this is already valuable for me to attend this forum because of I have insight and I am more interested to know this issue. So thank you very much for the presenters for your hard work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can ask question to any one of the presenters. It's open. We have 4 more minutes left. So keep the messages, the questions coming in YouTube or in the Zoom chat, where you can unmute and ask questions. While we wait for the questions, somebody commented in the chat box, this program invites us to educate ourselves how to help the girls, the victims of OSEC. And while we wait for the questions, I have something to share in the Zoom chat. So I'm going to share with you the reporting mechanism that we have, that we can use to report. So you can see that, there's one Internet Watch Foundation. It's international. Just for sharing, I know there's many of us here from different countries, but every country normally has one, and Malaysia has one, which is the one I just shared. So to complain or to make any complaints regarding sexual exploitation or internet cybersecurity. Okay. So I think we don't have any more questions. So we have come to the end of our session today. Thank you everyone for your participation and ideas and suggestions. It was a great sharing. We hope this session will be able to help you in your rescue and protection journey. So like I said just now, we are collecting all your responses, and we'll be collating a report and it will be sent out for the survey. So we also have another session tomorrow together with Philippines, Malaysia, and Nepal, same time, same place, where GSIF Nepal will also be sharing with us the human trafficking context in Nepal and the interventions they are undertaking. So thank you everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.